Okay, here is the video with the information you need to know around how to fast around your cycle. And I built this video out for those of you who have a regular cycle, those of you that are like, I have no idea when my cycle is coming, if you're in those perimenopause years. And for the postmenopausal woman, I have a whole section in this video for you so you can understand when you should fast and when you shouldn't fast. So, really excited to share this with you. Okay, it's time to do another video for you guys on how women should fast differently. This does keep showing up, especially over on Instagram. We got a lot of questions over there on how women should fast, and especially for you guys that are transitioning through your menopause years. When your period is really erratic, you don't know if it's coming or going, it's really hard to time your fasts. So sit tight because I'm going to go through 3 different variations that women need to have. We're going to talk about women that have a normal cycle. We're going to talk about those of you that are in the middle of your menopause experience. You don't know when your cycle is coming. And then I want to talk to the postmenopausal women and talk about how do you fast and what do you do when you have no cycle. So there's 3 different ways. First thing I want to help you see, and I feel like we all should have been taught this when we first went through puberty at like 13 years old, but I now go back and I start to teach women as they're going through menopause this concept. And it's incredibly helpful to figure out what to eat and when you should fast. So let's start off by looking at a typical 28-day cycle. So the first thing, I'm just going to zone in on 2 hormones. So I want to zone in on estrogen and I want to zone in on progesterone. And the reason that these 2 hormones are so important to us is that as we move through menopause, those are the 2 hormones that really start to decline. And if we're doing a lot of keto and doing a lot of fasting during the wrong times of the month, we can really send those sex hormones into a totally depleted state, and you'll start experiencing things like hot flashes and insomnia, and your hair will fall out. But if you time this right, you won't have that experience at all. So here's the thing to know about estrogen. You have the biggest peak of estrogen usually happens at this point, right here, somewhere between day 12 and day 14. Your body is going to be making estrogen right here at this moment. In order to make estrogen, you're going to have a little bit of insulin, you're going to have a little bit of glucose. If you are really focused on these longer fasts and you don't have a lot of insulin and you don't have a lot of glucose in your body, then you're not going to make estrogen. So if you have a regular schedule, you can fast from day 1 to day 12. You're going to be just fine fasting during that period. Starting on day 12 to day 14, you can do some intermittent fasting, but I'm going to encourage you to actually step out of ketosis, up your carbs, and definitely don't do 24-hour fast, and definitely, this would be the worst time to do a longer fast because your body needs those estrogen levels to be high, okay? Second hormone is progesterone. Progesterone will peak right here about day 21. So progesterone, after you ovulate, progesterone goes high at the back half of your cycle. So if you are fasting during this time, the same thing applies, that you will start to not make enough progesterone. Progesterone does several things for us. It keeps us calm, keeps us sane. It also is the hormone that when it gets secreted, it tells the uterine lining to shed. So those of you that are spotting, if you have any, and we'll go even into childbearing age, if you're infertile, day 21 to day 28 would be the worst time to fast. You can do some intermittent fasting, 13 to 15 hours is okay, but no dinner to dinner fasting, no 36-hour fasting. Definitely this would be a horrible time to do a water fast because you won't make enough progesterone, and then if you don't have enough progesterone, it's like a house of cards. All those other hormones will start to go off. The other thing, if you've heard me before talk about, is that in order to make progesterone, you actually need a higher carb diet, and there's some specific foods that you need. Beans, some tropical fruits, some citrus fruits, squashes, potatoes, rices. These are not keto foods. And so if you are even doing keto during this time, you're going to find that your progesterone levels will go down, and you will end up with some symptoms that you don't like. Insomnia, anxiety, trouble relaxing, irritability. And we see this so much in my clinic. I see this online here, that women get so excited about how keto and fasting feel but they don't stop to honor these 2 points. So day 12 through 14 and day 21 through day 28 for the woman that has a normal cycle, very predictable 28-day cycle. Okay, so that's what you would do. Now, let's talk to you that are actually in the throes of menopause. And if you are like, I don't even know when my period comes, and you've been doing a lot of keto and fasting for a while, and you have no period, you're not sure if you're going into menopause, what I would recommend to you is to start immediately by implementing some progesterone building days. Take anywhere from 3 to 7 days and purposely pull yourself out of ketosis. Do just some little bit of fast, but lean into those foods I talked about and see if your cycle starts. If your cycle starts, then fabulous. Once that cycle starts from day 1, now you're going to do the 28-day cycle that I said. You're going to start to calculate your cycle, and you're going to make sure that that you're not fasting on these points, 12 to 14, 21 to 28. So once you get a regular cycle back, you can follow this formula, okay? If you go 7 days pulling yourself out of ketosis and you're like, I hate this, my brain fog's back, I'm gaining weight, and your period's not coming back, then what I would recommend is that you go back to what I call my I just put this in my book, it's called a 28-day hormone reset. So you'll go back and you'll do day 1 through day 12, you'll start fasting with keto if you choose. Day 12 and 14, you'll pull yourself out and you'll start to try to build up that estrogen. Day 14 to day 21, you go back to fasting, and then day 28, you'll do the hormone building, even though you don't have a period. So if you're erratic, try that for a couple of months and see if your period starts to come back, if some of the negative symptoms that you have start to come back, okay? So if you have a normal cycle, just follow the 28-day protocol I've laid out. If you have an erratic cycle and you've been doing keto and fasting for a while, just jump in and start trying some progesterone building days with intermittent fasting. If that doesn't work, follow the 28-day program I set up for the woman who has a normal cycle. Okay, let's talk to you that are postmenopausal. So one of my biggest missions in life right now is to help women make the transition from premenopause to postmenopause. In these years, something is happening to us that I just feel like nobody is talking about. Our ovaries are starting to shut down. They're done. They're not producing eggs anymore. And as those ovaries shut down, our lifestyle needs to change. How we eat needs to change. We need to start working on bringing insulin down. We need to regulate cortisol a little bit better. There is a lifestyle that I feel like every woman transitioning through menopause should be doing. I wrote about it. I just put a book out. It's called the Menopause Reset, and it's a lifestyle tool for those of you going through this journey. But it's also there for you if you're postmenopausal. What I'm seeing a lot is that when people hit postmenopause, they still have the symptoms, even though they haven't had a period in like a couple of years. They still have the thinning hair. They still have the skin that's dried out. They still have anxiety. They still have the insomnia. They still have the belly weight that's not being resolved. If that is you, you need to go back and build a lifestyle that somebody should have taught you as you went through the menopause years. And it looks, from a fasting standpoint, now there are a lot of pieces that I want you to go back and rebuild, but from a fasting standpoint, it looks like this. So postmenopausal woman, just start on day 1 and work the 28-day hormone reset that I set out for the woman who had a cycle. You're doing that to regulate your progesterone levels. You still need estrogen and progesterone in your postmenopausal years. So, but lucky for you, there's no tracking. You don't need to track anything. You just are going to do those 28 days over and over and over again, okay? Now, the other cool thing I'll tell the postmenopausal woman, if you want to do a block fast, you don't need to think about this because you don't have a cycle, so you don't need to think about that. If you're a perimenopause woman, you're in the middle of it, you got to think about this big time. And if you're a woman who's in her early 40s, late 30s, maybe even earlier, you need to realize that, or you can do block fasting, any of the longer fasts, day 1 to day 12, but then you don't want to do it also between day 21 and 28. So think about your cycle because it's awesome to lower insulin. It's beautiful, but insulin has an effect on these sex hormones. So we need to be strategic about this. So I wrote this all out in a book. I spent my whole holiday season writing the Menopause Reset. I'm really excited to bring it to you guys. And because I want to get in your hands, I'm giving you a free copy, free digital copy. So if you want a free copy of the Menopause Reset, just put Menopause Reset in the comments and we'll send you a link so you can get a free copy. But don't give up on fasting. Don't give up on yourself. You just have to understand how to do this around your cycle, wherever your cycle is at. I hope that helps.